Please, don't tell my husband.
After everything we've done to you, you're still protecting him?
I won't be the
They
reason.
called him a man without mercy. Rivals feared his name. Allies trusted his judgment. In 20 years of ruling an empire built on fear, Jang, Dune had never once let anyone see him break. Men twice his size had begged for mercy beneath his gaze. Powerful politicians had trembled when his phone number appeared on their screens. Entire criminal organizations had vanished because they underestimated him. But outside a hospital room on a cold October morning, one cruel sentence from his own mother shattered everything he believed about the family he had sworn to protect. If you're already looking forward to what happened in this story, please support this channel by clicking the subscribe button, leave a comment, and share. Dune stopped just before the half-opened door. He had flown 15 hours from Vancouver without sleeping after receiving an emergency call that his wife had collapsed. Every instinct told him to rush inside, yet the sound of familiar voices rooted him to the polished hallway floor. His mother's voice came first. So she's still alive? There was disappointment in Madame Jang Mi-young's tone, not relief. I honestly thought the illness would have finished what I couldn't. A quiet laugh followed. It belonged to his older brother, Jang Woo-jin. She's stubborn, Woo-jin said. She always was. Another weak voice interrupted them. Please. It was barely above a whisper. Simone, please don't tell my husband. Do-yoon's heartbeat slowed. His fingers tightened around the bouquet of white lilies he had carried all the way from the airport. His mother laughed again. You're still protecting him? After everything we've done to you? Silence. Then Simone answered softly. He spent his whole life protecting everyone else. She paused to catch her breath. I won't be the reason he loses his family. Something inside Do-yoon cracked. For the first time in 20 years, the man who ruled an empire, through fear, felt tears gathering in his eyes. He leaned against the wall outside the room, unable to move. His wife was lying in a hospital bed, fighting an illness he didn't even know she had. His own mother was mocking her. And somehow, Simone was still trying to protect the people who had broken her. Do-yoon closed his eyes. The nightmare had begun 6 months earlier. It was supposed to have been an ordinary Monday. The morning sun spilled across the floor-to-ceiling windows of the Jang estate, overlooking the Han River. Staff hurried to the mansion preparing breakfast, while security teams rotated shifts outside the gates. Simone Brooks Jang stood in the kitchen wearing a cream-colored sweater and dark jeans, laughing with Grace Miller as they attempted to bake blueberry muffins. Grace held up a tray of burnt pastries. I think we committed a crime against baking. Simone burst into laughter. I'll take responsibility. You'll blame me. I absolutely will. Their laughter echoed through the kitchen. For a few precious moments, Simone almost forgot she lived in a house where smiles disappeared the moment certain people entered the room. Grace looked toward the hallway. He's leaving today, isn't he? Simone's smile softened. His flight leaves in an hour. Grace nodded sadly. You'll be alone again. Before Simone could answer, strong arms wrapped gently around her waist from behind. Not yet. She smiled instantly. There you are. Do-yoon kissed the top of her head. I've been looking everywhere for my wife. Grace grinned. I'll leave you two alone. She disappeared before either of them could stop her. Do-yoon looked at the burnt muffins. I was hoping for breakfast. You still have breakfast. She handed him the least damaged muffin. You just have to be brave. He took one bite. His face remained perfectly serious. This may be the most dangerous thing I've ever eaten. Simone laughed so hard she nearly dropped the mixing bowl. You survived. Barely. He stole another kiss before checking his watch. I hate leaving. So, don't. You know I can't. She nodded. She understood better than anyone. His organization wasn't just powerful. It was constantly under attack from rival syndicates, corrupt officials, and ambitious enemies waiting for the smallest sign of weakness. If he ignored one overseas meeting, people died. I'll only be gone for 2 weeks, he promised. You always say that. And I always come home. He brushed a loose strand of hair away from her face. I'll call every night. You'd better. I'll bring you something from Vancouver. She smiled. You've already brought me everything I ever wanted. His expression softened. You deserve more. A car horn sounded outside. His security convoy had arrived. Duty was calling. Again, before leaving, Do-yoon walked into the grand dining room where his mother and brother were already seated. Take care of Simone while I'm gone. Madame Jang smiled warmly. Of course. Woo Jin nodded. You don't have to worry about anything. Do-yoon believed them. He kissed Simone one last time. I love you. I love you more. Then he walked out the front doors. The convoy disappeared through the iron gates. The mansion grew quiet. Almost immediately, Madame Jang's smile vanished. She slowly folded her napkin onto the table. Well, her eyes settled on Simone. The performance is over. The warmth drained from her room so quickly that Simone felt a chill run down her spine. Woo Jin leaned back in his chair without saying a word. Madame Jang stood gracefully and walked toward Simone until only inches separated them. You've had your little fairy tale while my son was home. Her voice was calm, controlled, dangerously polite. But from this moment until he returns, she looked Simone directly in the eyes. Remember exactly who you are in this house. Simone lifted her chin. I'm your son's wife. Madame Jang smiled. It wasn't a kind smile. No, she said the word so quietly it was almost gentle. You're merely a guest who overstayed her welcome. Simone refused to look away. She had learned long ago that fear only encouraged people like Madame Jang. If that's how you see me, Simone replied calmly, there's nothing I can do to change your mind. Madame Jang's smile disappeared. No, there isn't. She turned toward the dining table. Breakfast is for family. Simone looked at the untouched plate that had been prepared for her moments earlier. I helped make breakfast. And now you'll help clean it. Grace froze in the kitchen doorway. But Madame Jang raised one finger. I wasn't speaking to you. Grace lowered her head. I'm sorry. Simone placed a gentle hand on Grace's arm. It's all right. Without another word, Simone picked up the serving dishes and carried them back into the kitchen while Madame Jang and Woo Jin enjoyed breakfast together. Grace whispered once they were alone, You don't deserve this. Simone forced a smile. I know. Then why don't you tell Mr. Jang? Simone continued washing dishes. Because he trusts them. And I won't be the reason that trust dies. Grace stared at her in disbelief. They're hurting you. I can survive being hurt. But if he loses his family because of me... She shook her head. I couldn't live with that. Grace wanted to argue. Instead, she quietly dried the dishes beside her. She had never met anyone as gentle as Simone, and she feared that kindness would eventually destroy her. The days passed slowly, just as Do-yoon had promised. He called every evening. The first call came exactly at 8 o'clock. His face appeared on Simone's phone screen. Behind him were the lights of downtown Vancouver. There's my beautiful wife. She smiled immediately. And there's my overworked husband. You look tired. I baked. He laughed. I saw the kitchen before I left. You survived my muffins. Barely. They talked for almost 30 minutes. He asked whether she'd eaten, whether she'd slept, whether his mother was treating her well. Each time, Simone gave the same answer. Everything's wonderful. Across the hallway, Madame Jang watched through the slightly open study door. The moment the call ended, she stepped into the corridor. So, she folded her arms. You lied very convincingly. Simone slipped her phone into her pocket. I told my husband the truth. Madame Jang laughed softly. No, you protected him. She leaned closer. I wonder how long you'll keep pretending. The following weekend, the Jang family hosted a formal dinner for business associates. Luxury cars filled the circular driveway. Politicians, corporate executives, foreign investors. Every guest was welcomed personally by Madame Jang. Simone stood upstairs in a navy blue evening gown Do-yoon had chosen before leaving. Grace smiled. You look beautiful. Simone adjusted the necklace around her neck. I hope tonight goes smoothly. Someone knocked. Grace opened the door. One of the senior house staff bowed politely. Madame Jang has a message. Simone smiled. I'm coming downstairs now. The woman hesitated. I'm afraid. She swallowed nervously. You've been asked to remain in your room. Simone blinked. I'm sorry. The hostess said your presence won't be necessary. Grace frowned. But she's Mrs. Jang. I know. The staff member looked genuinely uncomfortable. I'm only delivering the message. After she left, silence filled the bedroom. Grace turned toward Simone. This is wrong. Simone walked slowly to the window, overlooking the garden. Guests laughed below. Music floated through the evening air. She could see Madame Jang greeting everyone with elegant smiles. No one downstairs even knew Do-yoon had a wife. Grace picked up Simone's purse. We're going anyway. Simone gently stopped her. No. Why? Because she'll only cause a scene. And you'll let her win? Simone looked toward the glittering lights outside. I'm choosing peace. But at what cost? Simone didn't answer, because she already knew the cost was herself. 3 days later, Simone woke before dawn with a sharp pain spreading across her joints. She tried sitting up. Her hands trembled. Even breathing felt difficult. Grace noticed immediately. You don't look well. I'm all right. No, you're not. Grace reached for her forehead. You have a fever. I'm probably just tired. Grace crossed her arms. We're going to doctor. Simone hesitated. If Do-yoon finds out, he deserves to know. He'll come home. Exactly. He has important negotiations. Grace sighed. You always put him first. He's carrying the weight of thousands of people. And who's carrying yours? Simone looked away. Nobody. Later that afternoon, Grace secretly drove Simone to one of Seoul's most respected specialists. After several hours of blood tests and examinations, Dr. Park Jin-ho returned carrying a thick folder. His expression was serious. I'm afraid the results aren't what we hoped. Simone felt her stomach tighten. What is it? You have an aggressive autoimmune disorder. Grace covered her mouth. Dr. Park continued carefully. The condition can be managed, but treatment needs to begin immediately. What happens if I wait? The doctor hesitated. I strongly advise that you don't. Doctor, I need the truth. He looked directly at her. If treatment is delayed too long, there could be permanent damage to your organs. The room became silent. Grace's eyes filled with tears. Simone simply nodded. How long will treatment take? Several months. And frequent hospital visits? Yes. Dr. Park leaned forward. I'd also like to speak with your husband. Simone answered almost instantly. No. Both Grace and the doctor stared at her. He can't know. Mrs. Jang. Please. Her voice cracked. He has enough enemies already. I won't become another burden he has to fight. Outside the consultation room, neither Simone nor Grace noticed a familiar black luxury sedan parked across the street. Inside it sat Woo-jin. He had followed them from the estate, watching, listening, smiling as he lifted his phone. There it is, he murmured before dialing his mother's number. I've just found the opportunity we've been waiting for. Madame Jang ended the call with a slow smile. So, she looked across the sitting room at Woo-jin. Our patient finally has a weakness. Woo-jin slipped his phone into his pocket. The doctor said she needs treatment immediately. And if she doesn't receive it? Woo-jin shrugged. It becomes much more serious. Madame Jang walked to the fireplace, her expression unreadable. I've spent 4 years trying to convince Do-yoon that she doesn't belong here. She turned around. But perhaps her own illness will finish the job. Woo-jin hesitated. Mother, we're not killing anyone. Her voice was calm. We're simply going to stop helping. A slow smile spread across her face. If she misses a few appointments, if medication arrives late, if transportation becomes inconvenient, she shrugged elegantly. That's hardly our fault. Woo-jin nodded. I understand. Madame Jang picked up her teacup. From today onward, every hospital appointment goes through me. The next morning, Grace stood beside the front entrance, holding Simone's handbag. Your appointment is at 10. Simone smiled weakly. Thank you. Before they reached the door, Madame Jang appeared. Where are you going? Grace answered honestly. Mrs. Jang has a doctor's appointment. Madam Jang frowned. I don't remember approving one. It's important. I'm sure it can wait. Simone spoke politely. The doctor asked me to begin treatment immediately. Madam Jang slowly walked closer. My son is overseas representing this family. The last thing he needs is gossip that his wife is constantly visiting hospitals. She looked directly at Grace. Cancel it. Grace couldn't believe what she had heard. Madam, I gave an order. Grace looked toward Simone. Simone quietly nodded. It's okay. Grace's shoulders fell. She picked up her phone and canceled the appointment. Madam Jang smiled. Excellent. She turned and walked away as if nothing had happened. Grace whispered once they were alone. This isn't right. I know. We have to tell Mr. Jang. Simone shook her head. No. He'll come home. Good. No. Simone looked toward the large family portrait hanging above the staircase. He'll blame himself. And he'll never forgive them. Grace stared at her. They don't deserve your protection. Simone answered softly. I'm not protecting them. I'm protecting him. Over the next several weeks, every appointment seemed to disappear. The hospital called. Someone canceled. Medication deliveries never arrived. Drivers suddenly became unavailable. One excuse followed another. Simone became weaker. Walking upstairs left her breathless. She often hid in her room until the dizziness passed. Yet every evening, when Dune called from another country, she smiled. How are you? I'm wonderful. Are you eating? Too much. Mother behaving herself? Simone laughed lightly. You worry too much. After every call ended, she cried quietly where he could never see her. One afternoon, Grace found Simone sitting alone in the mansion garden. She was staring at the roses Do-yoon had planted for their anniversary. You missed lunch. I wasn't hungry. Grace sat beside her. You've lost weight. I'm fine. No. Grace's voice broke. You're disappearing. Simone reached over and squeezed her hand. Thank you. For what? For staying. Grace wiped away tears. I promised Mr. Jang I'd look after you. You've done that. No. I've watched them destroy you. Simone smiled sadly. They haven't destroyed me. They've only shown me who they are. Grace lowered her head. I don't know how much longer you can survive this. Neither did Simone. 3 months passed. Do-yoon's return was delayed again. A conflict between rival organizations demanded his attention. He hated every extra day abroad. One evening, he called unexpectedly. I have a surprise. What is it? I'll be home next Friday. Simone's face lit up. Really? I've already canceled everything after that. You finally get me all to yourself. She laughed for what felt like the first time in weeks. I've missed you. I've missed you more. After they ended the call, Simone held the phone against her heart. Only one more week. She could make it one more week. 3 days before Do-yoon's return, Simone collapsed. She had been walking downstairs when her vision blurred. The banister slipped from her hand. Her body crumpled onto the marble floor. Grace screamed. House staff rushed into the foyer. Someone called for an ambulance. Madam Jang entered slowly. She looked down at Simone without changing her expression. Perhaps she's being dramatic. Grace turned toward her in disbelief. She's unconscious. Madam Jang folded her arms. Carry her upstairs. No! Grace knelt beside Simone. She needs a hospital. She's embarrassing this family. Grace looked around desperately. Someone help me. No one moved. Every servant feared Madam Jang. Then a young chauffeur stepped forward. His hands trembled. I'll take her. Madam Jang's eyes narrowed. I didn't give you permission. The young man swallowed hard. With respect, he gently lifted Simone into his arms. I'd rather lose my job than watch her die. Without waiting for another word, he carried Simone outside and raced toward the waiting car. Grace climbed in beside them. The sedan sped through the estate gates. Madam Jang watched it disappear. For the first time, a flicker of uncertainty crossed her face. An hour later, doctors rushed Simone into intensive care. Grace sat alone outside the treatment room, her clothes stained with tears and dust from the mansion floor. Her phone rang. The caller ID read, Mr. Jang. Grace answered with shaking hands. Mr. Jang. His voice immediately became tense. Grace. What's wrong? She tried to stay calm. I'm sorry. Mrs. Jang collapsed. There was silence, then one terrifying question. What hospital? Grace gave him the name. On the other side of the world, Do-yoon stood abruptly from a negotiation table. Every executive stopped talking. Every bodyguard turned toward him. He didn't explain. He simply grabbed his coat. My wife needs me. Nothing else mattered. 15 hours later, he stepped into the hospital corridor, carrying a bouquet of white lilies. He had no idea that before he reached Simone's room, he was about to overhear a conversation that would change his family forever. Do-yoon remained outside the hospital room long after the voices inside had fallen silent. The bouquet slipped from his fingers. White lilies scattered across the polished floor. His chief of security, Nam Tae-kyu, hurried down the hallway. Sir. Do-yoon didn't answer. Instead, he spoke without taking his eyes off the hospital door. Tae-kyu. Yes, sir. I want every security recording from the estate. Every camera. Every hallway. Every phone log. Every staff schedule. I don't care how long it takes. I want everything. Tae-kyu immediately understood. Yes, sir. And don't tell anyone. Not even my family. Only then did Do-yoon push open the hospital room door. Simone turned her head weakly. The moment she saw him, she smiled. You came home. He walked to her bedside and gently held her hand. It felt colder than he remembered. I should have come sooner. Her eyes filled with tears. You heard them? He nodded. I'm sorry. The words escaped before he could stop them. I'm so sorry. Simone squeezed his hand. You don't have to apologize. Yes. His voice cracked. I trusted the wrong people. I left you alone. I failed you. She slowly shook her head. You loved me. I still do. Then you never failed me. He lowered his forehead onto her hand. For the first time since his father died, Jang Do-yoon cried openly. 3 days later, Simone's condition had stabilized. While she rested, Nam Tae-kyu entered Do-yoon's private office carrying several encrypted hard drives. You asked for everything. I found more than we expected. One recording after another played across the large screen. Madame Jang ordering servants to remove Simone from family dinners. Woo Jin laughing as Simone ate alone. Grace secretly bringing her food. Medical delivery drivers turned away at the front gate. Phone calls canceling hospital appointments. Household staff instructed never to tell Mr. Jang. Then came the final recording. The foyer, the day Simone collapsed. Grace begging for help. Madame Jang refusing an ambulance. Do-yoon watched the young chauffeur carry Simone to safety despite being threatened. Silence filled the office. Finally, Do-yoon spoke. Reward the chauffeur. Yes, sir. Rehire Grace immediately. Done. And prepare the family meeting. Tae-kyu nodded. They won't know what's coming. Do-yoon looked at the frozen image of Simone unconscious on the marble floor. They never saw it coming either. The following Saturday, every member of the Jang family gathered inside the estate's grand conference hall. Madame Jang sat confidently at the head of the table. Woo Jin smiled. Lawyers, executives, senior household staff, trusted syndicate captains. Everyone wondered why they had been summoned. Exactly at noon, the doors opened. Do-yoon entered. He wasn't wearing his usual black suit. Instead, he wore a simple charcoal gray suit. No bodyguard stood beside him. He didn't need them. His silence commanded more fear than an army. Without greeting anyone, he pressed a button. The lights dimmed. The first security recording appeared. Madame Jang's smile faded. Another recording followed. Then another. Every insult. Every humiliation. Every canceled appointment. Every lie. No one spoke. Several executives lowered their heads in shame. Grace quietly wiped away tears. When the final video ended, the room remained completely silent. Madame Jang finally stood. Do-yoon! I can explain. He looked at her calmly. No, you can't. She tried again. I only wanted what was best for our family. Our family. He almost smiled. My family was lying in a hospital bed while you hoped she'd die. Woo Jin stood quickly. She turned you against us. Do-yoon slowly turned toward his brother. No, you did that yourselves. He opened a folder. Effective immediately, Madam Jang Mi-young is permanently removed as chairwoman of every family foundation. His mother's face turned pale. Your financial authority is revoked. Your residence within the East Wing ends today. She gasped, You can't do this. I already have. He looked toward the lawyers. It's legal. The lead attorney nodded. Every document has been signed. Do-yoon continued. Jang Woo-jin, you're removed from every executive position within the Jang Group. You receive no further authority over family businesses. Woo-jin slammed both hands onto the table. I'm your brother, and she is my wife. His answer ended the argument. Do-yoon looked around the room. Anyone who participated in hiding Simone's illness is dismissed immediately. Several employees began crying. Others quietly accepted their fate. Then Do-yoon smiled for the first time. Grace Miller. She looked up in surprise. From this day forward, you are the director of the Jang estate. Grace covered her mouth. I don't know what to say. Say yes. She nodded through tears. Yes, sir. Finally, Do-yoon addressed the young chauffeur. You ignored a direct order to save my wife's life. The young man lowered his head. I'm prepared to accept whatever punishment you decide. Do-yoon walked toward him. Instead of speaking, he bowed. The entire room froze. The Jang family owes you a debt we can never repay. You saved the person I love most. The young chauffeur's eyes filled with tears. Several months later, the estate felt different. Quiet, peaceful. Simone's treatment had been successful. Her strength slowly returned. She and Do-yoon chose to leave the mansion behind and move into a smaller home overlooking the sea in Busan. No servants, no family politics, no painful memories, just peace. One evening, they watched the sunset from the porch. Do-yoon handed Simone a small wooden box. Inside was her wedding ring, the one she had removed before entering surgery. He smiled. I'd like to ask you something. She laughed softly. We're already married. I know. He slipped the ring gently onto her finger again. But this time, I promise you'll never have to fight alone. Tears rolled down Simone's cheeks. I believe you. He kissed her forehead as the waves rolled gently against the shore. For the first time since their wedding, home no longer felt like a battlefield. It finally felt like home. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with someone who believes that real love protects, listens, and stands up for the people who matter most. Let us know in the comments. What would you have done if you were in Do-yoon's place?